Bien, ahora nos acompaña Nancy Birdsall. Ella es la fundadora del Centro para el Desarrollo Global. Nancy, thank you very much for this interview with us.
Thank you.
First of all, how do you see this relation between the policies, the education policies for the middle class in Latin America?
So the issue that was raised in the discussion here today at this wonderful meeting is that the middle class is opting out, is abandoning the public system of schooling. That's a bad sign. They're doing it because they see that the quality of many schools, primary and secondary schools, is very poor, and they prefer to use their resources, which they have, to pay for private schools. What worries me is that it's not just the secure middle class, but what you might call the vulnerable or struggling group of people who are not poor. They have some resources, but they're certainly not income secure for the medium term. They are also beginning to opt out. So what that means is every country needs to focus more on the quality of schooling. Now that most children attend school in Latin America, that's a big accomplishment. The next issue is how to ensure that they actually learn more.
What is your opinion about this relationship between the corruption and the distribution of the public sources in Latin America?
Yes, well, it's very much in the headlines now today because of what's happening in Brazil. I think what's interesting and important comparing Latin America to other parts of the developing world is that it is the middle class and these non-poor who are still vulnerable in many ways who are protesting. That's a good sign. That to me is a sign that democracy is working. Maybe not the ideal way through the ballot box and changes in leadership, but when people see that there is corruption, they sense that they have the ability in their system to go to the streets and make their voices heard. That's better than not, let's put it that way. I think there will be a response in Brazil in some form, and I think it's important in Latin America to see that that is progress compared to systems of so-called electoral democracy where people don't feel comfortable to make their voices heard, where there's repression of one sort or another.
And finally, what else can do the governments in Latin America to help the middle class?
I think the issue for governments in Latin America, honestly, is to help provide social insurance and better quality schooling for the vulnerable group who are no longer poor, not yet middle class. If they do that, the middle class will come along. They'll benefit as well. And it's not just schools, roads, infrastructure that everyone sees can be better and shared will increase everyone's productivity in principle. The middle class will like that, and it will give them reassurance that the taxes that they do pay are being used well.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bien, y seguimos con más de la conferencia anual CAF en su versión número 19 desde Washington.